Hello everyone, this video will cover Module 4. So Module 4 is going to start us into the next major essay assignment. We will be writing an argument essay, so you'll be doing some preparatory work in this module as well as kind of continuing to review some of those basic foundational things that you should have had in Comp 1. So some of this will be review mainly just to get people on the same page. So let me show you what it looks like here. The first thing that you'll have to work on is some discussion of thesis statements. So we've got some readings out of the textbook that kind of go over what makes a good thesis statement, and then you have a quiz that you'll take. If you took Comp 1 through Allen, you might have had a similar quiz over thesis statements. The thesis statements themselves are different, but basically it's a true-false. Is this a good thesis statement? You pick true or false. So it's not a terribly difficult quiz, but there's quite a few of them in the pool. So you may end up with a lot of different thesis statements to look at if you decide to take it more than once. So then the other thing that you're going to be doing is taking a look at documentation. So you've got two quizzes in this unit. The documentation information, some of this will be review. It really depends on where you took your Comp 1 class, who you took it with, and then also what you experienced in high school. So some of this will be review and some of it will be completely new information. So if you start to get really lost, I've got some resources here. I highly recommend watching these videos just because oftentimes somebody just leading you through a visual makes it so much easier to understand what they're talking about. We've got two sections in the textbook, two chapters that have plenty of information, but sometimes the documentation information I think feels a little overwhelming, especially for students who haven't used sources a lot. So just kind of keep in mind that if you're starting to feel like this is a lot, use those resources, take it in chapters. Keep in mind that there's kind of two parts to what we discuss. There's the use of the source in the essay. So this chapter here, summarizing, paraphrasing, and quoting the source versus like putting it on the works cited page. So, I mean, they go together, obviously, but there's kind of two ways to study it, I guess, would be a way to think of it. So then you have a quiz over that same type of thing. You've got just questions over documentation and some of the things that you need to know about documentation, and it's one you can take multiple times. So the last part of this module then is getting us started on the next essay. And so what you're going to write next is an argument essay. So you've got the criteria here, and in order to start working on the essay, you're going to do a pre-writing journal, which will serve similar purpose as the, I think you did an outline for the previous essay. So the same concept here. We're really just pretty much all of your major writing assignments, major essays will have some kind of pre-writing that we do either as kind of collaborative through a discussion board or actually like something that you turn in for yourself, just because it helps me give you feedback, but it also helps you to prepare yourself. So this is the argument essay. Our second essay for the class is going to focus just on basic argumentation skills. This is one of the most common types of writing that you have to do just in academics in general, and you'll notice a lot of the techniques that you use for persuasive writing will show up in almost all other kinds of writing that you have to do. So writing emails to convince your colleagues to do something, writing your cover letter to convince somebody to hire you, all of those kinds of things. So we've already started analyzing argument for the first essay in the class. Now you're going to write your own. The topics are pretty restricted though, and the reason I have this restricted is because I want you to be using the textbook to help you out. I don't want you to have to do a bunch of research outside of class because I don't want you to get burned out doing research. We're doing a research paper later on. So in this case, we're trying to keep it pretty limited. You basically have 5 topics that you can choose from, and they all come from that section in the textbook Real Situations for Real Writing, which a lot of you chose your article from this section for your first essay. So if you want to use that same topic, that's fine. And then you can just look at the other articles. There are quite a few articles in each section. I also have some page numbers in here to help you. There are some like writing exercises at the end of each section. So in the section on the cultural sociological implications of food trends, on page 477, there are some writing prompts, and not all of them are argument related, but they do like have some good questions that you might think of. And so that might help guide you a little bit. So you're basically coming up with a single claim related to one of these topics and then creating an argument essay with it. The argument essay needs to be just a standard argument essay. You have your claim, you have your body paragraphs, at least 3 body paragraphs that develop your claim, and then one of those body paragraphs has to include a counter-argument refutation, which is one of the more challenging parts of writing an argument, is addressing the opposing viewpoints. You have to use at least 2 sources in this one. One of them has to come from the textbook. You can definitely use more from the textbook, and you can use all of your sources from the textbook if you want. Occasionally, a student will have a question that none of the textbook articles answer, so they might need to go, look at something further in just an online source, and that's perfectly fine. As long as one source comes from your textbook, all the other sources can be outside of the textbook. You also need to include at least 1 direct quotation and 1 paraphrase. So you're practicing these different elements of MLA style. You have to have at least 1 direct quote and at least 1 paraphrase from at least 2 sources. That's the minimum. I would expect more because you are writing, a full 5-paragraph essay, but that's the minimum amount to get a passing grade. And then you have your works cited page with all the sources you've listed. Since you already know how to do one from the textbook based on our previous essay, those are pretty easy to put on your works cited page. And then you can use first person if you want to, if you have personal experience with the topic. Most students will not, and so in that case, third person would be best, and then second person pronouns should be avoided. 2 to 4 pages, so it's not going to be very long. Standard 5-paragraph essay, you're probably going to get about 2.5 pages from it. And if you can't get that much, then you've chosen a topic that doesn't work really well. If you're over 5 pages, then you're doing too much work. It's way over what the requirements are. So the first thing you're going to do then is this pre-writing journal, and you have basically open up a Word document and then label the 4 entries that you complete. First entry is just a free write, so 10-minute free write, and then just kind of think about the topic starters that on the previous page for the criteria, and just kind of, you can write about all of them, you can just write about one of them, just kind of continual typing. And then you're going to do a cluster map, which will is one of those where you draw the lines in the bubbles and that kind of thing to help you organize your ideas. If you hand draw this, that's fine. You can always just take a picture and put it in your Word document. That's pretty easy to do. Or you can actually draw in the Word document. So, you open up your Word document and you can insert the different shapes that you need. So, insert your circles and then put your lines in there to connect to other circles and that kind of thing. So it's not that difficult to put in a Word document either. Just takes a little bit longer than typing. And then the next thing you'll do is an informal outline. So an informal outline involves just like making a list of ideas that you want to include. You can do it more formal with the Roman numerals, or you can just leave it as a bulleted list. That's fine. And then the last thing that you'll do is include a working thesis, which, as we know, always goes with an outline anyway. So you want to make sure that by the time you get to entry like 2, 3, and 4, these should be about the topic that you've chosen for your essay. So entry 1 might be getting off topic a little bit, but by this point you need to actually have decided this is what I'm going to write my essay about. And then if you change your mind, when you start writing the essay, you will want to do at least the outline and thesis again, so that I can give you feedback and make sure that you're doing it correctly. So hopefully everyone's doing well. If you have questions, make sure that you send me an email. Otherwise, have a great week.